A true A player adaptability is someone who's got like contextual competence. Like they can shift their approach and their communication style, very similar to what you were just talking about, Dustin, and your methodology based on the situation while maintaining constant values, okay, and standards. That's hard. Okay, there's a reason that's an A player characteristic and not just a C player mentality.
He's back. He's Blake. I'm Dustin. We're the Culture Base. During the music, I saw him get up, and I was like, is he going to be back in time? Because if so, I've got exactly what I'm going to say ready. There's nothing like a well-timed phrase. Anyway, we're the Culture Base podcast. We're so pumped to be with you. Episode 102. We're in the middle, not even middle. We're kind of trudging through this A culture series, talking about A players. And today we're going to get into adaptability and flexibility. But before we get into that, we want to remind you that we're here to help leaders know what they're about, show where they're going, and build scalable teams to get them there. I've lost Blake. He loves my well-timed phrase comment. That'll be on a shirt soon. You can buy those at theculturebase.com. Just find the store button that may or may not be there by the time this podcast episode comes out. Either way, follow us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, all the places at The Culture Base. That's BASE. So we are in episode 7 of 10. Well, kind of 11 episodes in this, right? Because there's 10 attributes to the A player, but also we did the little introduction episode. So let's call it an 11-part series. Mm-hmm. We're on part 7 now. Or at least the 7th attribute. I'm getting confused on my numbers, but we're on the 7th attribute. This is adaptability and flexibility. And Blake, there's a lot of things that happen, constantly change happening in the business environment, right? And we talk about this ability to pivot, to adjust, and to thrive amidst some uncertainty. And that's what we're going to tackle today, talking about the A players. Anything you want to say before I get into story time with Dustin?
No. Let's go.
All right, story time it is. All right, story time with Dustin. So whenever I think about this category of adaptability and flexibility, I think about how for me and my leadership for many, many years, I was not very flexible. It was you do it my way or you're kind of dead to me, essentially, right? And so I didn't used to be this flexible, but then when many people, including Blake, encouraged me to be a little bit more flexible in my systems and my processes and how I work with people. And what I found out is that I think what people are afraid of in being flexible is kind of too much compromise, too much giving up as their own desire of the outcome, if you will. Like, well, if I'm too flexible, then it's not going to turn out the way that I wanted it to, and it's going to be subpar, and things like that, or it's not going to be what I wanted or what I expected, right? But what I've learned is that through being flexible and kind of coming across the aisle a little bit and meeting people where they are, meeting people closer to where they are in flexibility, actually gets me more of what I wanted that my stubbornness was standing in the way of. And so for the leader that's listening to this today, for the team member that's listening to this today, as we're talking through these areas of what it looks like for an A player to be adaptable and flexible, just try to remove any stubbornness that you might have about being flexible and approach this from what if this actually helps me get what I want more than me being stubborn about things that are going on. So Blake, why don't you take it, kind of introduce us into this topic of adaptability and flexibility, how it pairs up against some instability, and lead us there.
Yeah, absolutely. So adaptability, flexibility, part of the agility characteristic of an A player, right? The way we've kind of defined it is the ability to adjust to new conditions, challenges, feedback, and be able to critically grow in that whole process. So sometimes it's easier to go, hey, what is an A player not? And what does it not look like for someone to be, adaptable or flexible? And I think A players are not chameleons, okay? Or chameleons, okay? They're not that. They're not someone who just fits the room and is whatever is needed, right? Like that is not what an A player is. An A player isn't just like, because technically all that is instability masquerading as flexibility, and that's not true. Okay, so a true A player adaptability is someone who's got like contextual competence. Like they can shift their approach and their communication style, very similar to what you were just talking about, Dustin, and your methodology based on the situation while maintaining constant values, okay, and standards. That's hard. Okay, there's a reason that's an A player characteristic and not just a C player mentality. Okay, A players have selective stubbornness too. They know where they need to stand on the why. They know where can't be compromised. If everything's compromised, then we're not like we've got instability inside of ourselves and our organization if we're going to compromise everything just for the next thing. Okay. Their A players' learning velocity is unreal. Okay. They adapt by accumulating frameworks. Like, you know, what's crazy to me is the amount of frameworks that I've created over my life in the past, even just 5 years, and how they get implemented into absolutely every part of my life. Mm-hmm. It's nerdy. It's not sexy, but it works. Okay. Yeah. I think that's part of A players are constantly, when they learn something in one aspect, it's getting tried in all aspects. Okay. And I think the difference is real similar to this idea of like bamboo versus a tumbleweed. Okay. Bamboo can get moved by the wind at the same rate as basically a tumbleweed. Maybe tumbleweed's faster, but like you can have bamboo hit by hurricane-like winds and touch the ground, and it will still hold true. And the difference is bamboo's it's not necessarily root system, but it's the system below bamboo is so strong that it allows that flexibility. And I think this is where, and because bamboo, like we constantly try to make product off of that same to be flexible, but yet really strong. I think that's what an A player is. That's that adaptability and flexibility we're getting to, something that has such a strong root system and isn't getting pushed around by the wind like a tumbleweed would be.
Yeah, and I love what you're saying there too about the strength that comes from this adaptability and flexibility. Again, because we go back to my story where I was sharing that we feel that the vulnerability and the compromise that comes with flexibility, we feel like that's not a strength. We feel like that's a weakness. Well, I'm weak because I compromised what I wanted in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
But we're talking about the strength of the bamboo really kind of brings us into our next discussion point here. We're talking about adaptability and flexibility, having to build this word that I love so much, resilience, in the face of constant change. Like it takes a resilient person to be able to accept, adapt, be flexible, and embrace even change, right? It takes a very resilient person, especially when you're working with high visionary people, whether it's you're the high visionary or you're reporting to a high visionary person, and every time they wake up, they have a new life-changing, business-altering idea, and you go, look, this is a change, right? We're not saying to exploit that. But what we are saying is that resilience is what carries you through all of this, right? And if you or your team or your players on your team don't have the resilience, when I close my eyes and I think about resilience, like I think about almost just like I don't know what you call the kite thing where you're like parasailing. I think about parasailing, right? Because I think about just kind of gliding through and knowing that there's really nothing that if I stop, right, I'm down. Like if all of a sudden I just go, no, I don't want to change. I don't want to keep going this way. Mm-hmm. I'm going straight down. But there's this constant that comes along with the idea of resilience of, no, we're moving forward, And so you either need to like adapt or die, right? So you have to kind of have that strength to go, I'm going to hang on and ride my way through this and where this thing takes me. And even if it doesn't turn out the way we want to, Blake, we still learn a ton. That's what I think it's like the secret weapon about adaptability and flexibility is how much we learn on the other side of it. Let's say you did compromise because you're resilient. And it ended up failing in the way that you thought it was going to fail if you compromised. Great lesson. Great lesson for everybody. Great lesson for you, the team, the company, to know what will work and what might not work.
Yeah.
But we talked about it many, many times on the show, and I know it's a huge deal for you, Blake, is the risk, right? To use maybe a word that may or may not be someone's really important word this year, courage, right? It comes with that resilience to push through. Yeah. So I think that's kind of the hidden factor that we need to identify in our team when we're talking about adaptability and flexibility.
Yeah. And when we're trying to, in your organization, like we kind of talk about that bamboo and mentality, the actual system underneath is called rhizomes. And I know that sounds like a dumb thing to say right now in a cultural context, but as we're talking about that, I think it's important to know, is this the right bamboo stock here? What makes up this stock? How do I know if it's resilient? How do I know if it's got this? And then how do I be an organization that can prepare for that kind of thing? We can't over talk about core values, and true A players who are adaptable and flexible and resilient, they have them. They have mission. They have self-awareness of themselves.
That's good.
The organizations have to be able to support that, which means that if you're going to completely push against that, you're not going to have that person finding that network underground of which it can handle those hard wins. Okay. Yeah. So you've got to have cultural principles that are non-negotiables. In order to have flexibility, people have to feel, and I don't want to say the word safe, they have to feel confident that they're being able to move around is going to be okay and they're not going to lose their job, or moving around is okay because they're going to be able to figure something else out, or they're going to be able to adapt. Giving a clear reason for being, right? It's really important. I've been reading a lot of the Stoics recently, and there's two thoughts here real quick. One, the first thought is one of the easiest questions. I don't remember if it was Seneca or somebody else, but they said that one of the real questions that are so simple to ask another person is so deep at the same time. And that is just, who are you? Who are you? That question is not it's an easy ask. It's not an easy answer. When you really sit there and think about that. And I would venture to say a lot of A players have thought about that. Who am I? What do I stand for? And the other one, this was my, how you have like your calendar of days rip-offs and it's got something on it. I've got these little cards that I pull up every day. But the one today that it said, and I feel like this is real similar to what we're talking about today. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. So things outside of us that cause distress, it's not the event itself. People understand that it's our estimation of it and the power right here, right in our brains, to be able to be flexible, to be adaptable in those moments, and not to go, well, had that thing not happened, I would have got this done. That's not what an A player says. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think about too, Blake, we use, garden analogies and things like that on this podcast, but I think too, the sports analogy just always seems to reign true here. And I think about when we're recording this, when this is coming out, we're in NFL postseason, right? This is supposed to be the top athletes of their sport, right? So these are all A players, right? These are in terms of, not necessarily in terms of character always, But in terms of talent and skill, at least, these have all arrived at where they've arrived at because they're A players, right? The best high school players get recruited by college. The best college players get, you know what I mean? So it kind of pyramids up, right? When I think about, Blake, when I think about all of these that are the best of the best, you got, what is it, 11 guys on the field at one time? Am I wrong? 12?
Yep. Nope. 11.
11. So 11 guys on the field at one time. They walk up to the line of scrimmage, and one of them goes, I don't like what I see. I know we just called this play, but we're going to change it. What you don't see is 10 guys go, nah, and walk off the field. Like they go, yep. They go, yep. Because they have that mentality of, look, if we aren't flexible and we can't adapt to the circumstances that are literally right in front of us at this line of scrimmage, we're going to get killed here. Like, this play is not going to work.
Yeah.
So I just love being able to have that visual of being a change-ready team, being an audible team, being okay with going, man, we've done all this work. We've done all this practice. We've made it all the way to the Super Bowl. We're fourth and goal, right? And then get to the line and go, not that play. We're going to change it.
Yeah.
Because we don't like what we see here, because we've learned, right, from all these other times, going back to the learning feature again. I want to wrap up with some uncertainty and confidence, if that's okay with you, Blake, unless you have something else.
No, it's great.
Cool. So leading through uncertainty with confidence. This comes up when we talk about this topic of adaptability and flexibility. And when I think about leading through uncertainty with confidence, I mean, Blake's been a business owner for longer than I have. I've been a business owner for going on 3 years now. And what I've learned through this process is that no one really knows what the hell they're doing. So if you walk up to the line of scrimmage and you're not very confident about the uncertainty of what's about to happen, congratulations, you're in great company with literally everyone else. Because no one else really knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. There might be ones that handle pressure a little better on the outside, but inside we're all just 12 years old standing at recess going, can I play too?
Yep.
Like, no one really knows what they're doing. So when I learned that from some really successful business people like Blake and other people that are like, wow, you have all these doubts too. You have all these uncertainties as well. They're like, yeah, that doesn't go away. It's just a matter of what you do with it. Yeah. And so we're not necessarily saying like you're an empty void of, any type of fear or emotion when it comes to being at that line of scrimmage. We're not saying that. We're just saying it's in that moment. What do you decide to do? Do you decide to give up and take your ball and go home? Or do you decide to adapt and be flexible?
Yeah. Adding to that, I think about, you mentioned earlier somebody's word being courage this year. I'm not afraid to be the guy who outs himself, but that's me. And the thing that I think what this is not about adaptability and flexibility is that competence and confidence aren't a part of that. I don't think, though, that courage in those moments, because we talk about how do you lead through uncertainty with confidence, you have courage. Like, it is literally like, I've got enough information and I'm confident in my ability to do the thing. Right? Like, because you can talk about all these defenders on the other side of, the field who are like, hey, I know I'm supposed to run up 4 feet and then go this way if they do this. But you know what? They might be confident in themselves that they see something and they just adjust to it. Okay. That's their confidence in themselves, because the thing that's even courageous about defense is they don't know the play. Like, that's it. They know their stuff and what their coverage is and what they're supposed to do, but they don't know the exact play that's coming. In fact, I think it takes probably more courage on the defensive side to be responsive in that. And they're confident, they have competence in what they can do, but they can lean in the part to say, hey, the other part that's empty, like, so confidence is on one side and then courage is on the other. It's empty. I've just got to step in and be courageous. And I think that great A players have just learned to trust the other side. And the only way you can trust your confidence and your competence is being courageous.
Yeah.
So you step into it then.
Yeah. And that's the agility, right? We talk about this being the agility category. You have to be agile to be back on your heels and be able to pivot in any direction. I could talk about this all day. Next week, or next episode, Blake, it's time to make the dream work. That's right. We're talking about teamwork. We're going to get into our collaboration category with teamwork and communication over the next 2 episodes. And so, again, what a time to be alive. We're in postseason NFL, and we're talking about adaptability and agility and teamwork. Oh, it's a good time to be in the podcast. We're so glad that you're with us. Cannot wait to continue this A Culture series with you next time on the Culture Based Podcast. Have a great week.